All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College Application and Website Development, or AWD1111 Database-Driven Web Development course, I've been creating a series of video presentations. Most of them have been from the Valley of Code, which is a site for Mr. Flavio Copes. I have done several on client-side JavaScript, about 5 from his HTML handbook, about 10 from his CSS handbook, and 9 or 10 from his JavaScript handbook. We've now moved over to the server side, and I'm going through his Node.js handbook. All right, and in terms of full disclosure, I have gone through, I haven't read this, but I've paged through this because personally I wouldn't have brought up environment variables now, but he has, so I'm going to do this. All right. Now, I'm going to do this a little bit differently than he does. So the ideas will be the same, but I'm going to come back in here into my project. Not there. I didn't want to do that. And so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a new file. I want it to be not under node modules. I want it to be right in here. So I'm going to go back up to the name of my project right there. I'm going to click. This is a special environment file, so I'm going to call it .env. It's going to be an environment file, okay? So we're going to put that in there. Now, let's take a look and see what Mr. Copes has to say about this file. It says, the process core module of Node.js provides the env, which is, again, short for environment, property which hosts all of the environment variables that were set at the moment the process was started. So who cares? Well, some of the stuff that you will put in here is stuff that you don't want other people to see, such as maybe the password for the database that you're going to use for the program. You don't want to make that available because then other users could potentially get to your passwords. You don't want to do that. Now, he gives an example where he sets a user ID and a user key. They're fine. There's nothing wrong with doing that. All right. And then he says, here is an example that accesses these. Okay, that's all fine too. All right. So it says if you have multiple environment variables in your project, you can create a .env file. That's what we just did. All right. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to copy that. Okay. And I'm going to copy that in there. And it says, let's see, and then use the .env to load them during runtime. So in your JS file, okay, that's fine. So I'm going to jump back into here and I'm going to copy this in. So this is a comment that says it's my .env file. All right, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say port equals, and for now at least, I'm just going to put, I could put in the number we're using, which is 4,000, but that assumes we're always using 4,000, which may or may not be the case. All right, so I'm going to change this. I'm hoping this is going to work. So port equals process .env .port or 4,000. In English, what this is saying, and I may have the syntax wrong. If I do, I apologize in advance. This says if we are going to go and take this particular application and we're going to put it out on the internet and host it someplace, it's going to have its own port that it uses. So it says, see if that's available. If that's available, use that. If it's not, use port 4000. This may have to be in double quotes. I don't know. So if I get an error, I'll go back and try to change it. All right, so this is the kind of thing that you put in your .env file. Now, there's nothing wrong with letting somebody else see this, but again, as we move on in here, we'll put in things like for our database, we'll put in something like the password to get into the database. So I'm going to leave this the way it is. In fact, since they used it, I'm going to try putting in double quotes here. It may not like this. I don't know. So I'm going to just do a file save, and I'll leave this open. All right, but I'm going to jump back into this file here. All right, now, so what changes? Again, going back to what Mr. Copes has here, this is what you want to put at the very top of your JS file. This tells it to configure your .env file. All right, so I'm going to grab that line. Okay, I'm going to grab that line. I'm going to come back up here, and I'm going to put it at the very top. And I'll put it, I could put it right underneath here. Okay. Now, it says app crashed, waiting before it restarts. Don't worry about that. All right. It could be, again, because of the way I did this. Could be that. I don't know if it is or not. All right. So it could be something else. But I've now got this in there, and I've got this at the beginning of my program. Oops, try that again. There we go. All right. Now, what else do I want to do? Well, here, remember what we said before, const port equals this. All right. Now, normally, I would have taken what I put in that .env file, and I'm just going to comment this. I'm going to just remove this. Normally, I just wanted to show you how you put something in the .env file. So let me save this. Let me go back to here. Normally, what I'd say in here is const port equals process.env.port or 4000, like this. So now I'm saying, hey, if there's a port available because I'm using some kind of a built-in package, use that. If it's not available, use 4000. All right? So that's that constant. I'm still not sure why this is crashing. Hopefully we'll be able to fix that in just a minute. What I'm trying to show you here, and really not doing a great job of, is how we can add things to the env file. All right? All right. Where to host a Node.js app. Notice it says here this is a non-exhaustive list. There's only been one or two of these I've ever used. So guess what I'm going to concentrate on? That would be the one or two of these. All right? And that's all I'm going to worry about. So I'm looking on here, and what I'm wondering is, before I do this, if I go back to here and I grab that line we put at the top, and I comment that line out, if it's going to fix things for me. And it looks like it did. All right. So I'm just going to save. Believe me, we're going to do a lot of work in here with our environment variables. All right. But if I run this now, it should be running. It's not a big thing, but it should be running. Okay. And so if I come back to here and refresh, it looks like it, but let's double check. And let's go back into here, and where we've got the how are you, let's say how are you today. Let's save that. It's going to restart the server, and let's refresh and see if this says how are you today. Okay, so it looks like our application is running just fine. That's good news. All right. So the author is going to list here from the simplest and constrained to more complex and powerful. Simplest option. I've never done this. It's kind of neat. It says even if you have a dynamic IP or you're under an NAT, you can deploy the app and serve it right from your computer using a local tunnel. I've never done this. It says this option is great for quick testing, demoing a project, and even sharing it with a small group of people. There is a nice tool for this called ngrok, which I have never used. All right. It says using it, you just type in ngrok port, and the port is the one associated or exposed to the internet. You will get an ngrok.io domain, but with a paid subscription, you can get a custom URL. All right. I don't know any more about it than what I just read to you. I've also never used glitch. And as it says, glitch is a playground and a way to build your apps faster than ever. It's something I should look at, and it's something you should look at. You cannot currently have a custom domain, and there are some restrictions, but it's great for prototyping. What's a prototype? It's a limited working model of whatever you're working on. That's all it is. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles in place yet. It says it looks fun, and it's not a dumbed down environment. You get all the power of Node, a CDN, which is a content delivery network, secure storage for credentials, get, import, and export, and more. We should take a look at it in class. I'm sure if I clicked on this, it'll bring me to glitch.io or glitch.com, and there you go. All right, so we'll have to take a look at that when we get to that point in class. CodePen. CodePen is a site that is somewhat similar to JSBin, which I have mentioned in this class and other classes. As they say, you can create a project with multiple files and deploy it to a custom domain. I'm not going to say another word about it. Another way to publish your apps and have no server to manage is to go serverless. Serverless is a paradigm when you publish your apps as functions and they respond to a network endpoint. I've never used the serverless framework. I've never used the standard library, so I'm not going to talk about those. PaaS. Anytime you see something AAS, it's as a service. So here's platform as a service. And as it says, these platforms take away a lot of things you would otherwise worry about, so it'll do some work for you. Zeet or Zeit, and as it says, it's now called Vercel. Never used that. But they mention on here, it's an interesting option. You just type now in your terminal and it takes care of deploying your app. There is a free version that has limitations and a paid version which is more powerful. You forget that there is a server, you just deploy the app. Again, I've never used it. These are things we're going to have to take a look at. Nanobox, never used it. Here's the one I'm using. Heroku. So I'm going to attempt right now, and believe me, knowing my luck, I'm going to screw this up. But it's fine. This is Flope's article on getting started with Heroku. It's probably not that. Oh, good. No, it's the Heroku page. That's even better. But we're going to take a look at that. I'm going to attempt, this may totally fail, but what I am going to attempt to do in just a moment is I am going to attempt to take this very simple app that we created and literally put it out on the internet. All right. Now, to do that, and there's going to be a few things I'm not going to mention to you in here right now, not because I don't want to mention them, but because there are things I have already done and I don't want to redo them and remove stuff and then bring stuff up again. But I'm going to go out to Heroku, spelled like hero, Heroku.com. Heroku.com. I've been giving you these addresses. So here is another one. All right. And again, that's Heroku homepage. All right. Right there. So if you go out there, just to Heroku.com again is sufficient. They'll explain some stuff, but what you'll want to do, and we will go over this in class, is to either click the sign up for free button or click the sign up button here. They both bring you to the same place. So if I clicked here, click there, you have to give them this information. We are using the free option. It does not cost you a penny. They do not ask you for any at all, no kind of credit card information or anything else. So last name, first name, email. I'm going to recommend that you use your Rankin email address. I'm going to ask that you please do that. For the company name, I'd put Rankin Technical College. For the role, There probably is a role in here for student, and there is, so choose that. For the country or region, you just want United States. For the primary development language, I would just choose Node.js. All right. There's other things that we are able to do here. I'm not going to worry about those right now. So you fill in all that stuff, you click the I am not a robot, and you create your free account. I've already got one. All right. So this getting started with Heroku, where it says I'm ready to start. Okay. It says set up. All right. Well, we've already done this. Okay. Now, one thing that you have to work with in here says the Heroku CLI. CLI is the command line interface, and you need to use that. So after you've got your account, we'll come over to this page, and we'll come here, and we'll get the installer. Now, my guess is virtually all of you in here, unless you've got a machine that's more than 10 years old, which I can't imagine you do, you'll have a 64-bit machine. So you click for the 64-bit installer. It'll load it here. I've already got it, but I'm just going to re-put it in there. And you'll click open. And that allows you to do some work with Heroku from the command line. All right. And you want to choose next and install. This literally should take a matter of seconds. I think I've got Heroku. I don't think that I've removed it, so I'm going to take a quick look in just a second in my control panel to double check and make sure. In fact, I can do that while this is installing. So, control panel, programs and features. It is not showing Heroku in here. I thought that it installed something, but it may not. I think it's still on the system. We'll find out in just a second. I don't normally do this, but I'm trying to follow as best I can what Mr. Flopes has put into his handout. So I'm hoping this is going to help. Normally it doesn't take this long, but something might be going on with my internet connection here at home. So let's see where we are for time. All right, we're okay. All right, it says completed, close, okay. So prepare the app. All right, so one of the first things we're going to want to do is basically set ourselves up for GitHub. All right, if you say, I don't know what you mean. So here's my first node. There it is. There's everything. I'm going to right mouse click on here. And I'm going to open up Git Bash from here just because it's easier. All right. And I'm going to come in and do my git init. Once I hit enter, it'll add a new .git folder up here. There it is. All right. Then I'm going to say git add dot, which should add everything to that repository. If you get those messages, that just means that any line feeds have been replaced with carriage return line feeds. It's no problem. All right. So I've now added everything in there. I probably shouldn't have even done that. All right. But we're getting going now. So I want to follow his steps here. And the steps, I should say, the ones that are out here on Heroku. All right. So now that we've done all this stuff, we can come in, and again, I may be doing this a little bit off as far as the steps, but it'll work fine in the end. I believe it will. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to say git commit -m initial commit. All right. And that should have been a minus, not an equal sign. That will not work. Hit enter. All right, now it's added all this stuff, including some stuff I really didn't want to add, but it's okay. All right, the problem is right now I've got to go back into GitHub. Where am I? All right, I've got to go back into GitHub. I've got to find that repository. There's my first Node app. Okay, so I've got all that stuff. All right, and now I've got to remember what those darn commands are, which I don't remember right now. So we'll put them in there. So I've got a file that I will share with everybody. When I say this stuff and I say I'll share it with everybody, if I forget to, and if I say something and then I don't do it, I would appreciate it if you would remind me of it. All right. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to call this, it's got the word keep in it, .txt. And it's like or it's like GitHub commands keep or something like that. Git commands keep this. That's what it is. All right. So we didn't have to do a git minus version. You don't have to do this git config. We've already done it. We'll do this as a class, so if you haven't done it before, you can. We did our init, we did our add, we did our commit. Now we want to do our git remote add origin. And then inside of single quotes, we want to give it the path to our GitHub repo, which is right here. All right. You'll know what, because if I get errors, it didn't work. Looks like that's great when it comes back like that. Okay. So we've got that. I can check by saying git remote -v, and it shows us where it's trying to grab that from. That's good. All right, so all that stuff is good. All right, so all right, so we did that. We did our git remote set. Now we don't have to do that. And now we have to come in here and actually push it. So right now, if you take a quick look, that's all that's in there is my README file and the license file. First Node app. All right. But I'm going to come back to here and I'm going to say git space push space minus, what is it? I should have it in here. Of course I don't. Well, I think I know what it is. Minus U origin master. Great. Sign in with my browser. You may now close this tab and go back to your application. Good. Now, how do I know if it works? I'm going to refresh, and if this fills in with my stuff, it worked. All right. I don't see it in there. That isn't good. It says your main branch isn't protected. Master had recent pushes just a minute ago. Compare and pull request. Code, protect this branch, etc. This stuff changes. All right. So what did it say here? Well, I actually think it worked, but I'm not positive. Writing objects, remote deltas, push request, first node app, branch request. Normally when you do this and you refresh like this, don't even know what that's doing, to be honest with you. It's got all of your files in here. See, it says 1 hour ago, so it did not upgrade. It should say basically just a few minutes ago. All right. I'm at 25 minutes, but I still would like to get this done. I'm going to stop right here and pick it up. And in the interim, I'm going to see if I can figure out what the problem was. Be back shortly.